Good morning. Namaste, beautiful souls. Welcome to day 7 of my tarot advent calendar. It's lovely to have you all a part of this journey. And last night I was thinking about what I'm going to be doing with the Greenwood Tarot when the new version arrives. And I was doing some review of the content that I have done with the Wildwood Tarot. And I think that many people are quite familiar with the Wildwood Tarot, not so much with the Greenwood. So I will likely be doing a comparison of the different way that the two decks are set up. However, fortunately, the suit of stones, which begins at Samhain and goes through until February 1st, is in the same position on the wheel of the year. And for that reason, I decided today to use this particular suit as my focal point. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to create coloring pages. And I know that when you print a fully illustrated picture in black and white, it's not an ideal coloring page. But what I have been noticing in the few that I have done is that the coloring page, I see things in the black and white that I don't see in the full color illustration. And so this is something that I have just been reflecting on this morning. And I did attempt to print them, but my printer is not working well. So I may just send a few of them to the coffee shop nearby and have them printed. I'm just going to open one more for you here. And good morning to Mary Beth and Tammy Ann. Nice to see you. Hello, Angela. I think I can only do one at a time. However, what I am looking at here is the card for this particular time of year in the Wildwood Tarot. This is the Five of Stones. And there is this great fire here. And if you have a really good look at this card, can you not see a 9 of Wands in this card? I was kind of blown away because I read the Wildwood Tarot as the Wildwood Tarot. I don't try to make it Waite Smith, but I was surprised at some of the things I have been seeing, particularly when I take away the color and look at the image in black and white. And so I'm going to sit down and color a few of these and to sort of take this on as a little bit of a practice. Excuse me. If I go to this one, I saw something new in this one as well. This is the Queen of Stones, the Queen of Earth. And if you look in the distance in the scene, you will see a river. And this is something that makes me smile because I want to see water in all of the Queen cards. And there's something here that just, I feel like I'm on to something that I want to follow through with and do a bit of a study with some of the decks that I'm going to be working with, and may print my own coloring book to help me dive a little bit deeper into the imagery. Now, there are a lot of free tarot coloring pages on the internet, And most of them are Waite-Smith, Waite-Smith based. And some decks have also done a coloring book for their cards. So I'm going to keep an eye out for these, and I think I have seen some on Amazon, and I'm just really curious about this as a additional layer of studying and building layers of connection in the tarot. It really is endless, the way that we can start to find layers of connection in what seems like a deck that truly does its own thing, which it does, and I think it's important to let the Wildwood Tarot be the Wildwood Tarot. And the Greenwood does its own thing. It's certainly not the Wildwood Tarot. However, when we find these connections, it's just, I don't know, it lands really well with me. Yes, and I know that some people in the UK have already received theirs. Alison Cross's A Year in the Wildwood is a lovely reference for going through the cards of the year. And I'm kind of curious about this particular card, the Five of Stones. And today I'm going to do a reading around this card. The key word on this card is endurance. And so I will shuffle the deck and then find the card and read around the energy of that card. I think this is an important theme, an important message for this time of year. And we can learn a thing or two from this child in the image. And thank you for, I feel so grateful to my team in spirit. I feel so grateful for all the messages that come through and support me and, in extension, you on your journey. Now this might take a moment to locate the card, and I'm going to build a portrait around it, I think, today. This is a much loved deck. I have worked with this deck a lot. And sometimes it goes away. I definitely work with it at the Sabbats. There we go. So there she is. I think in the guidebook it says it's a he. And let me zoom out so you can see more of the cards. So in the center row, either side of the Five of Endurance, we have the sun of life. And very interestingly, we have the Nine of Bows, which is the decan, if you're reading Golden Dawn correspondences, that we are currently in. And the key word for Nine of Bows is respect. And there's something about this deck that really hounds in the importance of our relationship with the environment. And I love when these messages come through in this deck, how we don't use more than we need, and that the importance of sharing our abundance is absolutely essential to our happiness. Okay, so the life force spirit here, reflected in the sun of life, I think is giving a sense of energy, it's giving a sense of hope. And I really feel in both the Five of Stones and the Nine of Bows a sense of mindfulness. Let's really move through this season mindfully, not falling into excess because that's just the way that people do things. It's funny, the street that I live on, there's a bit of a competition with the lights, the Christmas lights, and I'm starting to see this in a different way. I feel almost repulsed by its excessiveness, and it's making me want to turn in and be a little quieter and sort of dial back in this regard. I want to look at the top row. One of my favorite cards is up here, and we have another 9. And this, I think, really is an important card for the season as well, too. So this 9 of vessels, 9 of water, is above the 9 of fire, balancing and harmonizing it. And yet, this particular 9 of vessels looks an awful lot like a 9 of fire. To me, this is the power and the clarity and the brilliant light that comes through mindfulness, through meditation, through all of the things that I've been talking about this past few days. How important it is to take care of ourselves, to build harmony, to build strength through self-care and self-discipline. And I love that these 2 9s have just sort of showed up here to remind us about that number. There is, of course, a richness and a fullness to the number 9. I think this is all, rather than looking at it numerologically, I feel almost like a big blanket around us. Welcome, Janine. Hello, Donna. The person in the 9 of Bows looks to me as if he is prepared. For whatever there may come, he is prepared. And perhaps that is also for all of us a message that if we turn within, if we go within, and I love the term inner resource. That's a term that comes from one of my Yoga Nidra colleagues, inner resource. And if we tap into that inner resource, really we can do anything. There are 2 court cards above, very strong court cards. There's actually 3 kings in this reading. King of Bows, King of Air, and King of Stones is down below. I'll show you the below cards after. Let yourself guide yourself. And I think without even examining other cards, I hinted at this earlier, how important it is to listen to yourself, to listen to your principles, to listen to your own guidance, to not be led down the garden path because that's just what we do. You know, those sorts of things can be very dangerous, especially when we are, we've come so far in our self-development. And these kings tell me that indeed you are able to gather in and guide and lead your life with integrity, and I feel a whole lot of integrity in these cards that are showing up. So here's your other king. And this is a king of winter, the king of stones. Actually, not winter. So the king of stones is, it looks like winter. The king of stones is the first court card that comes after Samhain. And this is something else that I will talk about. I'm going to put it on the list for tomorrow or the next day. And that is, how do we work with the landscape in artwork when it doesn't fit the timing that is assigned to the card? And to me, this is one of the most majestic kings. This is the king of earth, who is also connected to his inner divine self, their inner divine self. And I feel that this whole reading is taking us to a place of listening and turning in and remembering that the strength doesn't come from the outside. The strength comes from within. This is a really interesting card. I'm going to read to you just a little bit from the description for this one. This is the Seven of Air, and it's sitting opposite what looks like the Justice card, but this particular card is called Injustice, and it is the Two of Air. So we've got Two of Air and Seven of Air on either side of King of Stones, and these cards in this reading are below, right? So they're below. They're hidden. They're part of those patterns that repeat themselves over and over in our DNA, in our minds. They're old patterns that reoccur. And the saving grace here, I feel, is the King of Stones, who calls aloud that I don't have to buy into this anymore. Okay, so Seven of Arrows. I just need to remember how this book is organized. It's not like the arrows in this deck is the first suit. Some of the greatest fears and self-destructive drives are born of emotional insecurity or lack of self-discipline, crippling an individual's ability to make timely decisions or impossible actions. Sometimes these dark, ungrounded fears are the product of panic and guilt planted by inappropriate parenting or the lack of ethical education. Unreasonable emotional expectations and feelings of abandonment can also fuel a lack of emotional stability and stable grounding in a practical life. Finding one's feet in this environment takes serious inner work and real self-appraisal. And you can see that this message is reinforced in the Two of Arrows on the other side of this wolf. This is a pattern that we are being asked to release, to howl to the moon and say, I no longer stand for this. I no longer carry this. I am not only strong enough and willing, but I will no longer tolerate falling into this pattern of victimhood, victim mentality. And it's not every day that you get a reading that has three kings. Center below the endurance card, and two above. Amplified by the sun And I want to address the king that's missing here as well too. And why we need this king energy. Why we don't have three queens. Why do we have three kings? These 2 9s are speaking to our the capability of our inner journey, and how by leaning into that and trusting that, we will better be able to negotiate the challenges of the external. We have King of Fire, King of Air, and King of Stones. So what the king we don't have is the King of Water, the King of Cups. And that to me makes sense in that we at this time are needing a clarity of mind. And the word discipline, for me, self-discipline, this includes any number of practices that you do to expand your frequency, to raise your frequency. It could be little things like your dedication to your daily walk. It could be more of a spiritual practice. It could be the way that you smudge yourself when you come home from work and you take time to clear the energy of the day out in the outside world. Wouldn't you say that the kings in their mastery have also married with their divine inner feminine? They are, you can't separate the inner masculine from the inner feminine. They just can't stand separate from each other. And in order to know that power, what Donna said, or in other words, the trust of the divine feminine is so important. Yeah, the reason for no queens. We need to know that we can stand and move through this. The question was about endurance. Where do we find endurance in this season where there are so many expectations and so much scheduled? And I feel like this message has come through in other ways in some of the small readings that I've done, in that the self-care and moments for your self-reflection are absolutely crucial for this. And you're fully capable of knowing this and understanding this power. So, thank you. Thanks for joining me this morning. And if you have done coloring pages, or you have coloring pages from a tarot deck that you really like, I would appreciate you sharing that in the comments below if you come back to leave a comment. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you for day 8. Namaste.